Welcome to the NCDWI Guide podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NCDWI guy, Jake Minnick.
Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to episode 254 of the NCDWI Guy podcast. On today's episode, we are continuing the Dojo series. We are continuing our training in the place of the way. Again, this is a 5-part series. On episode 252, we talked about the consult. On episode 253, we talked about the closet. On episode 254 here, we are talking about the calendar. On episode 255, we'll be talking about continuing legal education, the CLE. And on episode 256, we'll be talking about the courtroom. So again, 5-part series, the 5 C's. We had to get inventive with last week's C, the closet. But this week, we are talking about something that is crazy exciting to me, the calendar. Now, you may think I'm joking. I am absolutely dead serious, because the calendar, controlling your calendar, is the difference between great lawyer and mediocre lawyer. It's the difference between a amazing, profitable business and a floundering law firm. Knowing the calendar, learning the calendar, utilizing and maximizing the calendar is where it's at. And why is that? Because lawyers sell their time. So all these courses on time management, tracking your time, billing your time. As lawyers, we understand the importance of time. Again, I've had so many potential clients and current clients call me and say, hey, I know you have limited time. Hey, I know that you are very busy. Again, it's always this reference to the importance, the significance of time. You cannot multiply time. Everybody has the same 24 hours in the day. You cannot multiply it. But what you can do is maximize it. And to me, the art of maximizing your time, you have got to jujitsu your calendar. You've got to treat this as something that you need to sit down and think through, plan, be a master of if you want to be an amazing lawyer and provide maximum value to your clients and find meaning in your life. Controlling your calendar is the key to avoiding burnout in the legal profession. This episode to me is, of the series, the most important. It's not the most sexy, but it is the most important. So, here's something that rings true for me day after day, year after year. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. Several years back, I've kind of gotten into the habit of really trying to kind of like clean out my inbox. I don't like to have like a backlog inbox, but I couldn't get rid of certain things out of my inbox. And what I realized is this inbox is a placeholder. You need to take this email and whatever is being asked of you in this email and put it on your calendar and then file the email. If you're being reminded to draft this document, if you're being asked a question that you need to do research on, move it from inbox to task, which is calendar. If you have a to-do list, you have to put the to-do list on the calendar. One of the things I'm going to talk about today as just like a practical tool is this Lion Planner calendar. I don't think, here we go. It's somewhat, there we go. You can see it just barely. You got to finagle this thing because of my fake background here, but that's the Lion Planner, second volume that I've ordered. I love this thing. And it has a to-do list, daily and weekly to-do list, and basically make out the to-do list, and then I put it into the actual calendar part. It's not going to get done if it's not on the calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. So again, I shared with you a few weeks back, it's a wild time in life for me. It is a crazy time in terms of practice right now. Currently, I am handling 8 counties, practicing in 8 counties and 2 federal jurisdictions. 3 of the counties that I'm handling are basically East Coast counties. I mean, all the way on the East Coast, we're talking to the Atlantic Ocean, and the other 5 are in the greater Asheville area in Western North Carolina. So 8 counties on the opposite side of the state, 2 federal courts on the opposite side of the state, one in Asheville, one in Wilmington. I've got cases currently scheduled in all 8 counties, 2 federal courts. How does that logistically work? Because calendaring is everything. Can it be done? Yes. Is it easy? No. But can it be done? Yes. And this is not necessarily the long-term game plan to handle this, but I've been able to make it work because of a master control of calendars. When I kind of first took over these counties out in Western North Carolina and started handling cases out there, during the subsequent 2 or 3 weeks after taking on those counties and some current cases in those counties, I spent about 30 hours during that 2 to 3 week time frame planning. Legit sitting down at a computer, looking at all the cases, figuring out what I needed to ask favors of on DAs in terms of moving, resolving off calendar, resolving by email, and spent about 30 hours of time. That's probably a low estimate, but at least 30 hours of time planning my calendar. It's worth it. It's worth it. I am amazed by how much value you can bring to your client and how much time you can save by legit planning. So I'm going to give you my tools that I use for planning and then talk about some tips to where you can multiply your time by mastering your calendar. Again, you can't multiply your time, but at least you can maximize your time when you master your calendar. So here's a couple of the tools that I use. Number 1, and I did an episode on this earlier in the year, so I'm not going to get too deep of a dive, but the Big Ass Calendar 2025, Jesse Itzler's Big Ass Calendar. It is literally, it's humongous. It's the entire year on one sheet. And basically it is, I'm looking at it right now, it's about 4 feet by 3 feet. I mean, it is a humongous calendar. And I will tell you this, I have a lot of events on that calendar through the first 4.5 months now of the year. And almost everything that has been put onto that calendar in terms of big events has happened. Why? Because it's on the calendar. It's actually been kind of crazy to see how much has happened that was scheduled back in January up to even this past month, because it was put onto the calendar. It's great. It's for visual people, the Big Ass Calendar is amazing. Kind of going along with that, my wife and my mother-in-law got me these 2 things for Christmas. My wife got me the calendar. My mother-in-law got me this planner, but the corresponding Big Ass planner, Jesse Itzler's planner, which I use the whiteboard in that Big Ass planner every podcast episode, because it's got this great, like, giant whiteboard. Again, it's probably 18 inches by about 24, 25 inches. Huge amount of, like, visual space in terms of planning your year, planning your month. Very much like incorporates like similar theme, and Jesse's got some great tools for teaching you how to use these things. So probably not worth the investment for 2025, but going into 2026, noted down Jesse Isler's big ass calendar and planner for 2026 when that time rolls around. The other thing that I found incredibly helpful is this non-dated Lion planner. This thing is awesome. It basically has the monthly schedule broken down, but then has a great weekly planning, 2-page planning document for the week, and then has a daily kind of calendar and reflection and to-do list item notes, day review, goals and gratitudes, top priorities. This calendar is awesome. I love this planning tool. I think I would just kind of stick with this. It is extremely reasonably priced on Amazon. It's great. It's the perfect size. It's got a great feel to it. It's got like this journal feel to it. Just great. So I highly recommend that. I think it's worth purchasing, worth buying into. And then as a firm, so those are all both used, all of those tools that I just described, I use for both my personal planning and professional life. But additionally, specifically on the professional side of things, we use Clio Manage as our electronic calendaring system. Huge fan of Clio. Clio is unbelievable. Great company. Great technology. Love it. Love what they do. Love their culture. Love the tools that we've used now probably for close to a decade in terms of Clio Manage, and we probably used Clio Grow for like 7 or 8. So very, very big fan of that as a planning tool. So now to basically get into the tips, I'm going to hit these somewhat rapid fire because, again, today's episode is not rocket science. It's just the most important thing that you could spend your time at on your firm. And no joke, like a planning from a district court lawyer, from a superior court trial lawyer, wherever you fall in that, calendaring is a massive part of your practice. And you can either be controlled by your calendar, which I would say 90% of us lawyers are controlled by our calendar. We're not being proactive in all the ways we could actively attack, utilize, and schedule our calendars. There is a big misconception that in North Carolina, the state, the prosecutors control the calendar. That is not true. It's not entirely true, right? Judges can impact that in the courtroom when setting cases, but you can also handle a lot of stuff off calendar, and you can move things off calendar. Now, do you have to get the DA's buy-in to do that? Yes, you do. But when you do that, who's controlling the calendar? You are, with the DA's permission. So don't lie to yourself and be like, oh, I can't make the calendar work. The prosecutor's the one that sets cases and they won't know that. Blah, blah. Don't be a poopy pants, okay? Get yourself organized and start scheduling things as opposed to being impacted by your calendar. I'm telling you, this is the difference between mediocre lawyers and great lawyers, is an attention on the calendaring. If you don't figure this out early on in practice, it gets more and more difficult down the road as your schedule gets more and more bogged down and you're flying by the seat of your pants and you're running all around, and it becomes really difficult to sit down and schedule things. Get in the habit of maximizing your time now. So, tip number 1, know where you will be in 6 months. Know where you will be in 6 months. As of several weeks back, when I had all of this going down, I knew that I was going to be on the East Coast side of things for the month of March and first week of April. So everything that was out west, I was like, I need to continue this for the 2 weeks on either side of Easter. Anything that's ahead of those two dates, reach out to the DAs, continue everything to the 2 weeks on either side of Easter, because I'm going to be back in Asheville at that time. Then everything between the end of that third week of April and the end of May, I'm going to be back at the coast. So the 3 counties on the coast, that's what I'm going to bang out as many of those cases as I possibly can, continue others. First couple of weeks in June, planning on being on vacation, then back in Asheville for several months, and then back down here, back down on the coast again. And so you got to know where you're going to be in 6 months. If you want to maximize your calendar, and I don't mean just like where you're going to be living. I'm all over the map here for the next couple of months. It is going to be a wild ride. If you're coming with me, hang on tight. But you got to know where you are going to be court-wise. You've got to know which county that you are going to be in 6 months from now. If you have a jury trial that's scheduled, you need to know where that is. If you've got cases, again, in multiple counties 6 months down the road that are in conflict, now is the time to deal with that, not 6 months down the road. Know where you will be in 6 months. Number 2, find immovable court dates and batch your cases. Now, what is an immovable court date? An immovable court date, typically in my line of work, district court, DWI cases, is officer court dates where a case is set for trial. So basically, cases that are marked for trial, they're on an officer court date. We can't just kind of like typically go in and be like, hey, Mr. DA, Madam DA, would you move this to this other thing? And hey, can you alert your 3 officers who are already subpoenaed? No, we're not going to do that. If it's set for trial and on a specific date, okay, that one is locked in. Now, how many cases can I put onto that same date? How many traffic tickets that are going to be resolved without my client being there? How many cases for plea where I'm going to have somebody, but we don't need an officer, we don't need a prosecuting witness, whatever it might be. Motions, if there's a motion to return a seized vehicle, if you're going to have a client turn themselves in at the jail, whatever it might be, how can I put as many things onto that immovable date so I only have to go to court as few times as possible? Find your immovable court dates and then batch your cases on those court dates. Get maximum value out of each one of those immovable court dates. Number 3, handle cases off calendar. Handle cases off calendar. Keep a folder of cases that you can handle off calendar with you at all times. If you have a reset order, you're trying to get a order for arrest stricken, failure to appear stricken, you're going to have to talk to a DA and get them to sign off. Immediately print that out, put it into a folder, and keep it with you so that every time that you're in court, you have the opportunity to present that to the DA. If you've got a off calendar misdemeanor drug charge and you're trying to work out 8 hours of community service, whatever it might be with the DA, have the printout of that so that you can get the DA to sign off on it. Whatever you need at your disposal to have a meaningful conversation with the DA about a case that is not on that date's calendar, keep it with you. Now, in the past, you had to be really organized. You had to print out like the F1 screen. You had to have, and who knows how long it will be before attorneys listening to this podcast have no idea what an F1 screen is. So I'm going to be dating myself pretty soon when I'm talking about F1 screens given e-courts. But there's still a few counties out there that are using F1 screens. So look, we're not fully in the clear at this point, but you had to be organized. You had to put all this stuff in the calendar. Now you literally just need to know the name of the person you want to talk to the DA about because they can pull it all up. E-courts is amazing. It's never been easier for a DA to converse with you about an off-calendar case because they can type in the case number, boom, everything they need to see is there. Discovery is moving more and more e-courts or e-discovery oriented. Boom, they type in the officer's name here, like I can look at the report. It's never been easier. You don't have to walk down to the clerk's office and get a file. You don't have to send the DA any documentation. It is on their computer. Wait around for the DA. I wait around sometimes literally for hours to talk to the DA about cases that are not on the calendar that day. Today, when I was sitting in court, I handled one client that was actually on the docket for the day, and I asked about 5 other cases. That's pretty routine. That's pretty routine on my end. One client that's in court, I'm going to ask I asked multiple DAs about 5 other cases. Why? Because what do you need to talk about? What do you need to resolve a case? To handle somebody's case? Well, 100% of the time you need a DA to resolve the case. So whether it's their court date or not, if there's something you can handle by having a conversation with the DA, if the DA is there, then you can potentially resolve that case. Now, you might say, well, why wouldn't you just wait for their court date? Why don't you just wait for that, person's court date? You're maybe going to bother the DA, but why are you doing this? If you think about the amount of time that if you, let's say, had a client. I had 2 recent clients that got charged with misdemeanor larceny, worked out a agreement with the DA to have them perform community service. They both did the community service. I turned it into the DA. We had it dismissed. We filed the expunction before the original first court date. So before their first appearance was scheduled, we had already worked out an agreement with the DA to resolve the case. They had done the community service. We had then gone back to the DA to have the charge dismissed and filed the expunction all before the first court date. Why? Why am I doing that? Why not just wait around for the first court date and just talk with the DA on the first court date, set it out, give them time to do the community service, come back on their next court date, turn in the community service, wait until a couple days later, file the dismissal? Because you don't have to. That's not a good use of your time. If you think about the 2, I didn't make extra trips to go talk to the DA about their cases, either when I was going to ask about the agreement or to have them dismiss it. In fact, the dismissal was entered pursuant to an email that I sent saying, hey, here's the community service. Could you dismiss this charge that's coming up at the end of the month? Yes, fine. One less thing for me to deal with. I just type it in, boom. Now we don't have to worry about that person coming in the courtroom. You save so much time. You save the driving time back and forth for that specific court date. You think about how much time you spend sitting through calendar calls, court downtime where nothing has happened, but the DA's got stuff going on with other defense lawyers, attorney. You are wasting your time if you are not handling things off calendar. You have got to become a master of handling and resolving cases off calendar. To me, there's a humongous art in that. You have to be really good at not pissing off DAs by asking them to do things that kind of aren't on the docket for the day. Yes, they will have to resolve this case at some point in the future. So it's kind of like, well, we got to either do it now or later once you help your future self out. Some people aren't really bought into that. So you have to play the patience game. You have to play the kind game. You cannot be demanding with this stuff. I will wait for hours until there is downtime. Why? Because I've planned to have other stuff that I'm doing while I'm sitting around waiting for them. I'm not wasting my time while I'm being patient. I'm not twiddling my thumbs. I'm not sitting around chatting about nothing in a break room. I'm getting shit done while I'm waiting. But don't come in demanding. Don't come in saying, hey, this has to happen. And I've had times where I've sat around for a couple hours waiting to talk to the DA. And then it's like, hey, I've got to get to lunch. I can't talk right now. Send me an email, or could you hit me up tomorrow? Fine. Yeah, totally good. I'm not asking you about anything on the calendar day. I'm not expecting anything. But most of the time, if you play the kind and patient game, DAs will talk to you about stuff that's off calendar. sometimes about a few things, sometimes about a lot of things. Utilize that opportunity. And number 4 and last, this only applies if you have somebody else at the office helping you, and it's something that I'm pretty terrible at. But, so this is more do as I say and not as I do, but meet with your case manager or paralegal regularly, weekly. Have a weekly meeting to make sure that you are on the same page, that you are maximizing your calendar. Your case manager, your paralegal can help you with that if you just let them help you with that. Let them be a part of the planning session. Invite them into that. You know, I'm pretty good at organizing cases to where I can kind of maximize my time in court. One thing I'm not great at is always being prepped for the case when it comes up for court. I'm pretty good at it. There's room for improvement on my end. And I was in Asheville recently and talking about a case that I had coming up. And I was like, I'm not prepared for that. Hoping to be prepared for that soon. And Stephanie Heller, who's our human resources officer, kind of office manager here at the firm, she basically said, Jake, you haven't been ready on this kind of stuff in 10 years. And it was true. It's like that, you know, there's certain things where it's like the preparation could be improved. And that really like struck home. It's like, yeah, I mean, I need to really figure out a better system for preparation. And part of that better system is to really utilize and maximize the value that the other people on the team are bringing to the calendaring of cases and to planning and scheduling things and making sure that we're all on the same page. If you are not in control of your calendar, your court schedule, your court dates, your time for client callbacks, the time that you have carved out for consults, the time you have carved out for research and case prep and video review, the time you have planned out and on your calendar to work on your business instead of in it. If you are not a master of your calendar, then it is the master of you. And you will go where you are called, and you will ultimately get burned out because you will spend time doing things that you should not spend time doing. I am certain that at this point, I have saved hundreds of trips to courthouses around the state by good planning. Hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of time that would have been wasted by good planning. But this is the place of the way. This is the dojo. This is the training ground. And I need to get better. So, absolute confession, I need to take control of my calendar to the next level. Let's level up our calendars together. Look forward to speaking with you again next time.